If I wait much longer to do a Star Trek video, after all the Star Wars videos that I've done, my brother's gonna disown me. So, here we go! Starting at the peak of the mountain, here's a review of Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, 1982, directed by Nicholas Meyer. My brother loves this movie, and love might be an understatement. According to legend, this is one of the most watched VHS tapes in our house. But it's one of those family traditions that I missed out on because by the time I came along and was old enough to know anything, it was already too worn out to be watchable. I remember it being played just once, and I was so terrified of Khan that I hid behind the couch. It was this face. Yikes. In Star Trek II: The Wrath of Khan, Captain Kirk has accepted a promotion that removed him from command of the Enterprise and put him, I guess, in the Starfleet equivalent of a desk job. He's an admiral now, but his life feels empty. He revisits his old ship during a cadet training exercise, which of course includes all of your favorite Star Trek cast members, but what should be a routine mission goes awry when an enemy from Kirk's past unexpectedly resurfaces. Khan, a genetically enhanced superhuman from the 20th century who Kirk sent into exile 15 years ago, has escaped his barren prison planet and is eager for revenge. I don't feel qualified to review this movie as a part of the Star Trek franchise because honestly, I haven't had that much exposure to Star Trek recently, aside from the two new reboots that they made. I can't properly evaluate how this one fits in or compares to the other movies, so I'll just review it the way I watched it, as a standalone movie. The first thing that hit me when I started watching it was the music in the opening credits. The score was written by the late James Horner, and it has this beautiful, swelling orchestral quality that complements the grandeur and excitement and emotion of the story. And I found that as the movie progressed, the score adapted to the frightening and intense moments using this spooky musical effect. I don't really know what to call it. It really freaked me out when I was a kid. It's great. The next thing that drew me in was the classic characters. Kirk, Spock, Bones. I feel kind of sheepish admitting this, given the family history, but these aren't characters that I'm really familiar with, aside from a couple personality trademarks that everyone knows about. But I didn't find that to be a problem because the characters and their relationships with each other became readily apparent through the witty, smart, and meaningful dialogue that occurs throughout the whole film. And then there's the story. There are quite a few good layers of subplot going on here. Kirk's dissatisfaction with life, the inexperienced cadets, particularly Kirstie Alley's by-the-book Vulcan commander in training, the Genesis Project and its questionable moral implications, the lead scientists behind it, Carol Marcus and her son David, and their connection to Kirk. There's a lot dealing with the past versus the present, and it all comes to a head with Khan's re-emergence. Let's talk about Ricardo Montalban. For a very long time, Star Trek II was the only thing I knew him from my view cowering behind the couch, of course. But now I've seen him in movies when he was younger, and it's amazing! He's the nicest, friendliest looking guy! He's charming, adorable, and perfectly harmless! Look at this face! How could you be afraid of this face? Ah! Okay. As nice as he was in older movies, he makes an awesome bad guy, and I'm so glad they got him to come back to play Khan again. If you like this movie but haven't seen Space Seed, the Khan episode from the original series, Season 1, Episode 22, you might want to. I wouldn't say it's necessary for enjoying this movie, but it does help fill in some gaps. Khan's older here, of course, but he's still got a ton of presence, that commanding air, great lines to deliver, and I'm gonna say this just to make my brother uncomfortable, a smidgen of sex appeal. Having finally read Moby Dick this year, it's exciting to be able to appreciate how Khan truly is Captain Ahab, and James T. Kirk is the white whale he hunts with vicious enthusiasm no matter the cost. Oh, and the literary references in this movie. Check out Khan's bookshelf with Moby Dick, Paradise Lost, King Lear. You know he's pored over those books for years, committing their words to memory. And then Spock gives Kirk an old copy of A Tale of Two Cities for his birthday. Yay! The strong implications of these references and the way they play out in the film's conclusion is excellent. The perfect way to get me to enjoy my first-ish Star Trek experience. If you want me to watch more Star Trek, bait me with promises of literary references like that. Because the way to a nerdy girl's heart is through her brain by quoting her favorite books, or better yet, her favorite characters. Asterisk. No guarantee of this. If she's not into you at all, this probably isn't gonna help your case. Double asterisk. Don't be creepy about it.
Hey, I snuck into your house last night. I went through your bookshelves. You like A Tale of Two Cities, huh? Let me recite it for you!
Don't do that. Back to Star Trek 2. I will say this. I do have to try to not get confused with all of the Star Trek lingo that gets thrown around that I'm not well versed in, and then the technical terminology of ships and planets and such. That kind of information doesn't soak into my head naturally. It's the science part of science fiction, you know? And there are a couple of things I could point out if I wanted to be nitpicky. The biggest whoops that stands out to me is when Khan says to Chekhov, "I never forget a face," but according to Spacey, they never met because Chekhov wasn't a member of the show yet. I kind of wonder, didn't either of the actors consider that line and think, hey, wait a minute, that can't be right, I've never acted with this guy before? But honestly, this movie was such fun that I don't feel like nitpicking. I enjoyed pretty much every bit of it, with the possible exception of the part where the Enterprise is leaving the dock and it's just like, shot of the Enterprise from here, shot of the Enterprise from under here, shot of the Enterprise from up there. I don't really need that. But aside from that, really, I had such a good time. Books, music, humor, sadness, a great villain. It ticks a lot of boxes for me. I plan to watch more of Star Trek, but I do have a sneaking suspicion it's not going to get much better than this. Thanks for watching this review. Bye! Okay, I just found this fascinating read about the movie that goes way more in depth than I did, so if you want to check it out, I've provided a link below. And guess what? Someone wrote a book that explores Khan's years in exile, and I think I might read it because I read those Star Wars books, so I might as well make it even. Oh, and there's one other thing I have to do.